Evolution is the theory that animals and humans get better adapted to survive and thrive. This is accomplished through mutations and natural selection over long periods of time. Natural selection is when some individuals within a population have traits that better enable them to survive and reproduce in a given environment, while others may not survive to reproduce. This process is called natural selection, and it can lead to the evolution of a population over many generations. Evolution theory relates to the principle of natural selection by weeding out those who may have weaker or unwanted traits, therefore only leaving the beneficial traits, which helps the species to evolve quicker and bettering the species as a whole. Some evidence that supports the scientific theory of evolution is the fossil record. The fossil record supports the theory of evolution because we can see in the fossils small changes in the preserved specimens that show microevolution. Microevolution is the theory that small changes or mutations lead to diversity in a particular species. A good example of this is how we compare pterodactyls to our modern raptors and eagles. Comparative anatomy also supports the theory of evolution by showing how some bone structures in different species are very similar, helping to give evidence to macroevolution. Macroevolution is the theory that one main species can, over time, evolve into other completely different species, like a cat growing into a dog. A good example of this is the similarities between a dromedary, a Bactrian camel, and a llama. Comparative embryology helps support evolution by showing us how different species embryos are actually similar, such as how vertebrate embryos have gill slits. One of the ways biogeography supports evolution is through the example of the island finches and how their beaks adapted when there was a lack of water and the smaller beaked animals all died off. According to the biology class text, the field of biogeography studies where on the planet species live now and where their ancestors lived in the past. Lastly, molecular biology helps support evolution because of the molecular clocks. Molecular clocks are basically a smaller version of evolution in molecules, such as cytochrome C. Natural selection, as aforementioned, some individuals within a population that have traits that better enable them to survive and reproduce in a given environment, while others may not survive to reproduce. This process is called natural selection, and it can lead to the evolution of a population over many generations, according to the text utilized in this class. Natural selection can occur in a population through many different ways, as seen with the aforementioned finches. A drought occurred on the island, and only the birds with the larger beaks could reach the water in the deep flowers, therefore killing all of the smaller birds with smaller beaks, and that is how we display natural selection. The conditions necessary for a population to be at a Hardy-Weinberg equilibrium, or evolutionary equilibrium, are A. Random mating, B. Large population size, C. No emigration or immigration, D. No mutations, and E. No natural selection. The mating must be random because if mates are picked because of certain traits, these traits will become more prominent over time. Because smaller populations have alleles and genes present at random, we need a larger population less susceptible to chance. Hardy and Weinberg have found that as long as no immigration or emigration occurs, no new alleles or genes will be present, therefore creating the need for no migration. Mutations also can be passed on through generations and alter the genetic makeup of the population, which is why we cannot have any mutations present in the population according to the text. Lastly, there must be no natural selection because these traits over time will become more prominent in the population, changing the frequency of alleles in the gene pool, as said in the text. The sources I used are 9.3 Evidence for Evolution from Biology Libre text, How Does Molecular Biology Support the Theory of Evolution from onehowto.com, Fossils from National Geographic, and the biology texts used in this class.